After years of threats, walkouts, and war talk, enemies, adversaries are finally talking without shouting. On the one hand, we have Iran, calm but firm. On the other hand, Donald Trump, the man who blew up the original Iran deal but now is flirting with a return. The two sides just wrapped up indirect nuclear talks in Oman. Both sides say things went well. But beyond the diplomatic smiles and polite nods lies a truth that the West still refuses to accept. Tehran's nuclear ambitions may be beyond containment. Iran may have already crossed the point of no return. So is it time for the West to accept the reality of a nuclear Iran? Hello and welcome. You're watching Statecraft with me, Geeta Mohan. For years, the West and its allies have been gripped by tension. An obsession with Iran's nuclear program, which became the center of heated threats. A nightmare for leaders like Benjamin Netanyahu and America's Arab allies. In 2018, Trump walked out of the Iran nuclear deal inked by Obama in the year 2015.
I am announcing today that we cannot and will not make this certification. We will not continue down a path whose predictable conclusion is more violence, more terror, and the very real threat of Iran's nuclear breakout.
Sanctions returned and so did tensions. Assassinations, cyber attacks, and military standoffs followed. But Iran didn't fold. It expanded its nuclear program and stood its ground. Iran wanted the world to know that it's not building bombs, it's building pride. But now there has been a subtle shift. Tehran and Washington, D.C. are talking again. Both sides have exchanged smiles. This time around, Trump wants a stronger deal with his name on it. Iran wants relief from sanctions. Both want something, and neither wants to blink first.
I want them to be a rich, great nation. The only thing is, one thing, simple. It's really simple. They can't have a nuclear weapon. And they got to go fast because they're fairly close to having one. And they're not going to have one. And if we have to do something very harsh, we'll do it. And I'm not doing it for us, I'm doing it for the world. And these are radicalized people, and they cannot have a nuclear weapon.
Many believe that for the first time in years, there's hope.
فکر میکنم حدود 4 بار این رفت آمد انجام شد و دیدگاه‌های طرفین به هم دیگه منتقل شد. حدود 2 ساعت و نیم طول کشید و به نظر من جلسه به عنوان جلسه اول جلسه سازنده بود در یک محیط آرام و بسیار محترمانه انجام شد. هیچ زبان غیر مناسب به کار گرفته نشد.
But is there? Iran has made its intentions very clear. Its nuclear ambitions are no longer negotiable. In recent months, Tehran has significantly accelerated its uranium enrichment. It has crossed the threshold of 60% purity, dangerously close to the 90% required for weapons-grade material. This surge goes far beyond the 3.67% cap set by the 2015 Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, or JCPOA, signed by P5+1 and backed by none other than the then US President Barack Obama.
Iran is enriching uranium at a very high level, 60% of a certain isotope of the uranium, which is very close to the level that you need for a nuclear device, for a weapon, for a bomb. Does that mean they have a nuclear weapon? No. But it is not irrelevant. It means that they are amassing high amounts, very, very important amounts of material at a level which is not normally used for civilian or peaceful purposes.
The United States of America may have walked away from the deal, but Iran hasn't looked back. For many, Iran's stockpile of highly enriched uranium is now sufficient to create multiple nuclear weapons, should they choose to do so. What we saw in Oman was more than just talks. It was two opposite diplomatic models facing off. One uses sanctions, drones, and war games. The other uses law, diplomacy, and national dignity.
But with Iran, if it requires military, we're going to have military. Israel will obviously be very much involved in that. He'll be the leader of that. But nobody leads us. We do what we want to do.
The tussle is who gets to set the rules first. But the question remains, is this a path of no return? Reports from the talk suggest a small deal is on the table. Not a grand reset, just a roadmap. Iran could get sanctions relief in exchange for reduced enrichment, which will come with a 2-month timeline. But Iran wants more time, more clarity, and more honesty. It's clear that Tehran wants to rebuild the trust step by step. But then there's Israel. Iran says Israel is using provocations to spoil the talks, to drag the US back into confrontation. You see, Israel doesn't care much about diplomatic talks and efforts. Israel's stance is clear. Iran cannot be a nuclear-powered country. But Iran won't budge either.
مواضع ما همه بدانند مواضع ما همون مواضعی است که بود دشمنی آمریکا و رژیم صهیونیستی هم همونی است که بود تهدید میکنن که شرارت خواهند کرد البته اگر شرارتی انجام بگیره ما خیلی اطمینان نداریم احتمال زیاد نمیدیم که از بیرون شرارتی انجام بگیره اما اگر شرارتی انجام بگیره قطعاً ضربه متقابل محکم خواهند خورد.
Now if Iran continues down this path of uranium enrichment, the implications could be catastrophic for West Asia and for the world. Israel, already deeply alarmed by Iran's nuclear progress, it views a nuclear Iran as an existential threat. In recent months, Israel has hinted at the possibility of preemptive strikes, a scenario that could ignite a devastating regional war. On the other hand, Donald Trump has threatened military action if Iran doesn't curb its uranium enrichment program. But Tehran believes that it has the right to enrich uranium for civilian use. They say it will power homes, advance medicine, and prepare for a future where nuclear energy powers Iranian progress. But Iran's nuclear enrichment exceeds those required for civilian nuclear activities. Fueling the skepticism even more is Iran's growing refusal to fully cooperate with the IAEA, also known as International Atomic Energy Agency. Inspectors have been blocked, surveillance cameras removed, access has been limited. And the more secretive Tehran becomes, the more the West begins to assume the worst.
We want to be in a situation, in a position where Iran can, through the IAEA, because we are the inspectors, through the IAEA, confirm to the world that all the activities that they are conducting, that they are carrying out, are exclusively for peaceful purposes. What is the problem then, you would ask? The problem is that in the past, and even today, Iran has not been as forthcoming as they should be. Iran has, on occasion, not given the necessary answers to our inspectors. And why I say this? Because we happened to find traces of nuclear activity, in this case uranium, we were talking about just now, in places that were not supposed to be hosting any nuclear activity. So what we have been struggling in our conversation with our Iranian counterparts is to find out, if I found this here, where is this material? Where is the equipment that was being used to process this material?
In diplomacy, what can't be verified can't be trusted. A nuclear Iran would redraw the entire strategic map of West Asia. Other regional powers like Saudi Arabia, Turkey, or Egypt may feel compelled to seek their own nuclear weapons in response. That's how arms races begin. Beyond the region, the ripple effects are no less significant. Sanctions might get tougher. Back-channel diplomacy may grow louder. Military readiness could be heightened. and looming over it all is the possible collapse of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty itself. For those who don't know the NPT or Non-Proliferation Treaty, it is a landmark international treaty aimed at preventing the spread of nuclear weapons and technology. It also promotes cooperation in the peaceful uses of nuclear energy and aims for nuclear disarmament. But in 1998, India and Pakistan conducted clandestine nuclear bomb tests, one after the other. The nuclear tests were not just met with international condemnation, it led to the United Nations Security Council passing a resolution pressuring the two countries to sign the NPT. US and several other nations reacted with their own sanctions and condemnation, but both India and Pakistan braved it and finally have been accepted as nuclear powers. India as a responsible one, while Pakistan has a checkered past. If Iran becomes nuclear, what message does that send for belligerent nations like North Korea or even the future nuclear hopefuls? So what can the West do? Military action would carry massive risks and no guarantee of success. Sanctions are already near maximum pressure, yet Iran endures. And diplomacy, the goal now may not be to prevent a nuclear Iran, but to contain one. A shift in mindset, a pivot in strategy. A quiet, reluctant acceptance that the future may be less about non-proliferation and more about nuclear management. So make no mistake, a nuclear Iran is no longer hypothetical. It's an approaching reality. And when that day comes, the world will face a new kind of nuclear age. The time for decisive diplomacy may have passed. Iran remains calm, calculated, and confident because the truth is, Tehran holds the upper hand now. It has the uranium, it has the technology, and more than anything, it has leverage. Iran, isolated, sanctioned, vilified, has quietly built its way to the edge of nuclear capability. And as the West scrambles for nuclear deals, Tehran is in no rush. The West wasn't prepared for this version of Iran. Unapologetic, unbending, and maybe unstoppable. Thank you for watching Statecraft.